A little water. So I wanted to start off. We left off with the parties.
Which one?
Well, the first one, the very first one, and I know you had parties at your log cabin, and I don't remember on Louisiana Avenue if you had many parties.
No.
Seemed to me like they pretty much blossomed at
The
the
big parties started when I moved to Mississippi.
right,
That's when the big ones started.
and that was the log cabin, and we talked a little bit about the log cabin.
Log cabin, actually called it a log palace.
Okay.
4,500 square foot log home.
And we already discussed how you never want to do that again in your lifetime because of
Well, I
all
don't
the...
mind living in the country. I actually love that, but the logs were invaded by carpenter bee, wood borers. I actually bought untreated lumber, unbeknownst to me. I bought untreated lumber and built the log house, and all of a sudden these insects from hell, from outer space, started boring holes in my logs and looking like a machine gun.
Wow.
And I thought it was carpenter bees. I thought it was coming from the outside in, but
They were actually in the board itself.
Yeah, they come alive, and they wake up and they bore their way out. Wood borers. And I had one hell of a bunch of wood borers. That house looked...
So, again, was it one section of, or was it the whole house?
The whole damn house, upstairs, downstairs, and we had to keep filling in the holes with like wood
glue or something. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. So anyway, so the party started up, and were you still married to Barbara at that time, or were you?
During the Mississippi years, first I was not married to Barbara. Barbara and I ended up getting divorced after we came to New Orleans. I got divorced from Delray in Mississippi, then had a string of girlfriends, of which Barbara was one of them, and then one by one I got rid of the girlfriends. I got rid of the girlfriends one by one. Poof! Anyway, because I started realizing that Barbara was significant, I was much more interested in Barbara. So the parties definitely started in Mississippi. I don't know what the first...
Did they always have music?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Were they always live music, or was it?
Yeah. Always live music. I always had a band. They just seemed to get more and more of a celebrity status as I got older.
So when you started out, you didn't have the Allman Brothers come by to visit, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
So when
I had Allman Brothers music being played by
other people, right?
People.
Yeah. One of these. But what about in terms of the status of the parties, etc.? I mean, how many people did you start to invite at that point?
How many people do I invite?
Yeah.
I invite everybody that I know.
Okay.
It's a big social experiment.
I know.
That I do. I invite Republicans, Democrats, hippies, lawyers. I invite everybody, a big gumbo of a social experiment, and a big mix it up and see how it works and gets along. And usually it works fine. I only had one incident where an ex-wife tried to murder some other woman at my party, but in 30 years of giving parties, hey, what's one slight almost
one attempted murder?
Then there was one incident where probably the strangest incident that ever happened at one of my parties. After the party had ended, and this was years ago, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I was cleaning up the house, had a few hangers on. I had a couple of girlfriends still hanging around, and there was a friend of Justin's who was staying at the house. And this kid who was staying at the house had been a drug dealer in his earlier years. But the reason I bring this up is because about 1 o'clock in the morning, long after the party ended, one of the girls walks by me and says, "Cops are at the door." Ooh. I said, "Cops are at the door. They want the homeowner." I said, "Really? Right now, this time? And there's no music playing." I think, what the heck, could they be coming at me now for? And then Justin's friend Armando walks by, and he says, "Yeah, cops are at the door." So I was okay, but whatever. I go to the door, and I open the door, and I greet this tactical, Louisiana state trooper type looking guy, but very coppish, very, And he says, "You're the homeowner?" I said, "Yeah." Are you NOPD? He says, no, I'm state police, but could you come out? And I said, yeah, sure. So I come on out, and then Armando, Justin's friend, follows me out to the porch, and he's sitting on the front porch, watching this go down. And the cop says, we've got a little issue. He says, see these two guys over here? And I look, and there's two guys on my front porch that I recognized had been at my party earlier. But I didn't know them, like they were guests of somebody else who came to our party. Which is one of the reasons I started having wristbands and security. Too many people I don't know at my house. But anyway, the cop says they're too drunk to drive, and I told them I'm taking them to jail unless they can go back and stay at the house they just left. They sent them on their way, in this condition. I don't even know these guys, but I don't want to see them go to jail, so I say, all right, fine. So I think I can get rid of it in a couple hours once they sober up, whatever. Then the cop turns his attention to Armando. He looks, he says, you. And Armando, what about me? What? You. And what? And the cop goes and gives him a big bear hug. He's hugging Armando. And Armando, he's Armando. And Armando says, yeah? He says, it's Jason from Southeastern. You had the best dope, dude. You had the best weed. I can still remember that weed. And I said, am I done out here? I go back in my house?
That's wild.
Yeah, that was probably the strangest side event that ever happened at one of my parties.
Could have turned out worse, but it turned out pretty good considering.
Yeah, but the cop dropped all cop facade and went straight for the old time.
Yeah, right. So I guess I have to ask, again, the numbers of people, you ended up doing better security, etc. But the parties, I mean, what would you say an average party in Mississippi was compared to what they became in New Orleans?
You mean people-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, I had tons. It's probably the same. It's just it might have looked smaller because I had 40 acres of land that people were roaming around on. Right. But I mean, there were, those parties grew a lot. I mean, I had a huge, barbecue going on, and I had every party has been catered. I mean, every party's been catered, heavily catered.
But now were they always for your birthday, or were they for different? I mean, Christmas party too.
Birthday could have been my birthday, could have been a 4th of July party, could have been a Christmas party. I always picked a reason to have it. And then it became my birthday. On a regular basis. It was a good enough excuse. And
Christmas was a good enough excuse. But now, at this time, were you doing Merry Minstrel, or were you?
Haunted History hadn't happened yet.
Right.
It was,
Haunted History started what year? 90 something?
95. 95, 96, 95, I think.
Right.
It'd be 30 years this year.
And I remember when you first started talking to me, you said, at that time, hey, what do you think about this idea? And I said, it sounds okay to me, but I wasn't sure how it was going to go, I mean, you took a big chance.
Sure did. I always do. That's why I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, but the question, it could have also gone the other way too.
That's right. Took a big chance.
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I gambled.
Yeah.
And if I believe in something, I think I can make it happen, I'm going to go with it, And not everything I touch turns to gold or silver.
Right.
But
we won't go there yet.
I've had enough success, that more things work than don't for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think industry being what it is, I mean, you apply yourself. I mean, even if it was something.
If you think about all my occupations have been service oriented, either photography or singing telegrams or the tour business. It's a people business. People business.
Yeah. So
and you have to have a people personality, an HR type personality,
So in terms of again getting back to the parties, you pretty much had parties every year, at least one or two big parties, right? I mean, when it came down to
sometimes two parties, sometimes just one.
Yeah.
Second party would either be 4th of July or Christmas. Yeah.
Okay, and once you started with Haunted History, it seemed to me that there were a lot more people that were maybe not really known, maybe to you, but not really known to me. I mean, there were a lot more people who were
in my house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, there were a lot more people not known to me either. That's why I turned around one year and I looked around my house and I didn't recognize a single person in my entire house. And I thought, okay, next year I'm going with wristbands and security guards because I mean I take a big enough chance letting people I know
Yeah.
roam around my house.
Yeah.
You know, not you know, much less people I don't know, give them carte blanche to walk around my house all day long. Yeah.
So, you know, parties notwithstanding, I know I want to get down because we really haven't talked about, you know, the big elephant in the room with Justin. We haven't talked about, and I wanted to kind of like talk a little bit. I mean, we can reflect on him now a little bit. I mean, I remember seeing pictures of you and Justin. I mean, he was the cutest little kid, and you all were everywhere. I would say you were pretty much inseparable. I mean,
we were.
you know,
Yeah.
and I mean that worked well. I mean, you said that he had to stay with Delary for a while at one point,
Well,
right?
I mean, we shared joint custody, but the problem was that when we split up, I was in Mississippi and she moved to Baton Rouge
Uh-huh.
and would not meet me even halfway. I
Right.
had to drive 2.5 hours. It was like a split week.
Right.
And so because he was going to school in Baton Rouge at the time, I would pick him up on Friday afternoon and return him on Monday morning. But I had to, I spent my entire weekend driving. I would leave on Friday, drive 2.5 hours to Baton Rouge, turn around, drive 2.5 hours back. On Sunday, we'd go to Sunday school in New Orleans, drive into New Orleans, then we'd visit my mother, and then we'd drive back to, either straight back to Baton Rouge, and I'd spend the night in Baton Rouge, or we'd drive back to Mississippi, and then I'd turn around and drive to Baton Rouge the next day. It did a lot of driving.
Yeah, and you were still working at that time too, so you had to run the businesses. I assume it was very Mary Minstrel at the first part.
Yeah. I moved to Mississippi to, I had these delusions of retirement, but that didn't last long because I went bankrupt in Mississippi and had to move.
But the bankruptcy was not related to the businesses as such, was it?
Well, the bankruptcy, I mean, basically, I wasn't making much money in Mississippi, and the nature of the singing telegram business at the time was a cash business, and I had opened offices up in different parts of the country, and I was getting robbed blind.
Yeah, well, I know you told me that, and I remember we talked about how many different spots. Indianapolis was one of them, you said.
Indianapolis, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area, Jacksonville, eventually Mississippi Gulf Coast, Baton Rouge, so
it's 5?
Yeah.
Did you have anything in North Carolina at one point or no? Okay, so 5.
No.
So that's a lot to maintain, and like you said, if you're not there, to kind of watch over them, sometimes the chickens come to roost. So it's unfortunate, but you do have to keep that in mind. And again, as far as talking about Justin, when did he actually start to move in with you on a full-time basis? Was it after he graduated from high school?
What am I hearing?
I'm not sure. It's like sounds like a Jew's harp.
Okay, maybe it's anyway. What was the question about Justin?
The question was, when did he actually move in with you? What year?
I'm not sure. He went back and forth. When he started 7th grade, he wanted to move to New Orleans. So I sent him up. I got him into McMain, and then his mother guilted him so badly about being in New Orleans with me that she basically trumped me and got him back to Marlyville. Those were probably some of the worst.
But at that point, she was living in Mandeville, not in Baton Rouge anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
But it must have been tough on him too. I would imagine.
Horrible on
having
him. It was very, very bad on him.
Yeah.
I think it had a pretty disastrous overall effect. But the BS that went down between his mother and I.
Was it over money, or was it over ownership of the
Well, it was over
visiting and stuff like that?
It was vindictiveness on her part.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, They say the one that creates the situation is always best at playing the victim.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that quote from a very long line.
Yeah. So, but to get back, when you think he moved in was it during high school or after he graduated?
That whole period is very hazy to me
Yeah.
because she and I were fighting all the time
Right.
about it.
So I'm just trying. What I'm trying to get to is when you were able to actually maintain a relationship with him, where you could observe.
When I'll put it this way, she always felt there was a custody battle going on, even after he turned 18. You know, like when he turned 18, he rode off on his bicycle one day and wound up in Oregon. And
I seem to remember that. Yeah.
And you know, I was called out to Oregon. He had to be put in a psychiatric facility up there.
But was he 18 then or older?
He was 18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay, so by that time, there must have been something already manifesting itself that he was not.
Well, maybe he was 18 or 19 because he'd already been hospitalized at least once. And his first hospitalization, I think, was 18.
Okay.
So he already had established.
So it was a psychiatric evaluation for him, or yeah. So I was just wondering, a lot of times, the bipolar, schizophrenia, whatever, comes out when they're in their early 20s. But it seems like it manifests itself earlier with Justin.
Well, that's due to his drug use.
Okay.
I firmly believe that he, and I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened on my watch, but he was living in Marlyville with his mother, and he met a certain group of people there, and he started doing LSD.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of LSD. I mean, tons of LSD. And
you said you never really did a lot of that, right?
No.
Yeah.
And it is my firm belief, some kids can do it and come out okay on the other side. But Justin, in my opinion, didn't. He had a case of arrested development, And I think he had some bad genetic loading on both sides of the family, but I think that the drug use kicked it in.
It's hard to understand because, he's such a sweet kid. How he could go up, but and again, at one point I remember you were just shaking your head saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I've got to be able to provide for him. I want to put him in a hospital, but and you were looking at places like in New England and other places like that. Some of which I think you maybe actually sent him off to, right?
He went to Vermont. He stayed. He went to Vermont twice. First time he stayed 6 months there, and that happened to be during Katrina. In 2005.
Wow.
So he was up there. I had just brought him up there a month earlier, and then Katrina hit.
So that was August or so, maybe late July, beginning of August.
2005.
And so he was there for how many months?
He was there for 6 months in Vermont.
Probably the best 6 months he ever spent in his life, because if we here, well, you know what it was like here. I mean, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was going on in Vermont? What kind of treatment was he getting?
It was a psychiatric rehabilitation.
But it wasn't drugs. I mean, it wasn't like
in Vermont. No. It was a psychiatric rehabilitation farm, ranch, and they had.
Did you visit, or were you allowed to?
Yeah. I visited several times.
What about Delray? Did she visit, or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know.
Yeah. And what about other family members? Did anybody else from the family? No. No, okay. I mean, no, because I didn't know the reason I'm asking is because really it's a period that's sort of cloudy. And again, it was a very difficult time. I know you had with it, and I'm bringing out these because I need to bring out some questions that I've never asked you because
Ask away.
It's
I wrote the book. Ask away.
I know, but I mean, it had to really, really hurt that you couldn't have the kind of relationship that other family fathers and sons had.
Sure, right. I had my kind of relationship. I had whatever worked for me and him. And I looked forward to the good days because they were good days. There were days that he acted totally normal, completely normal. And I treasured those days, knowing they wouldn't last. Because mental illness, unfortunately, is the only illness I know of where the patient resists taking their meds, but will do street drugs. Embrace street drugs, but thinks that the actual meds are poison, and won't take them. So,
I've had dealings with that with other people.
I mean, that's like a diabetic saying, I'm not going to take my insulin. You just make me.
Right. I think I'll eat some M&Ms instead.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So, or maybe Roman candy would be better.
Right.
Because So we're getting to the point. I just really wanted to kind of like get a feel I mean, I remember there was one party in particular that you were giving, and when you mentioned Justin and the name came up, I mean, I remember you were just beside yourself. You had to hire a police guard, and
That was the first,
and you said he can't come in,
I did not trust what he would do.
and it seemed to me that he actually came. He managed to come in anyway.
He didn't make it to. That was I think the party you're thinking of was my first party on the boat. Well, actually my second party on the boat. But when I turned 60, I had a party on the.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And that's the one where I couldn't let him on the boat. I truly made one of them. I did not trust his.
But there
were
was
times I had to have a security guard outside my house.
That's what I'm saying. You had a guard here.
Yeah.
And it was basically saying like, you can't let my son. But he managed to somehow, after the party was over or whatever, like winding down, he managed to come in. And you were like, I know at one point you were scared. You
Sure.
said, I can't trust him.
Well,
Because
I was never really scared of Justin, but I didn't know who his friends were on the street.
Right.
And didn't know what they were capable of.